All right, good afternoon, good day. I'm Jeff Kelly. This is the URBANYEG podcast. This is now our third episode. We got James Kim here, as well as Chan Rin. Chan is, of course, the founder of URBANYEG. And James Kim is a former restaurant owner, entrepreneur, and side hustler in his own words. Over the last 11 years, James has worked in several successful companies, including Intuit. During that time, he has started several side hustles and worked part-time at restaurants to get an understanding of the industry before pursuing his thought and goal to own restaurants. Right now, he's currently focused on working on a new project called the Hungry Mind. Essentially, at its core, it is a coaching project to help young and old entrepreneurs and individuals find purpose and building the habits and behaviors to reinforce it. So, welcome, James.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, third episode, really stoked to be here, I guess.
Yeah, it's cool to have you.
Yeah.
So I actually don't know a whole lot about you. So through this conversation, I actually want to learn more about yourself and your journey, and I suppose why you feel it's important to be able to have a conversation in this capacity with URBANYEG. Chan.
So, well, I got it. Okay, so we met James. This was probably a month ago. I met him at the meditation sessions, and he had a really great story, and I felt like I really enjoyed his energy, and I think that he's exactly the kind of person that should be featured on here, because the things that he's going after right now, the things that he talks about on his Instagram, I think are fully applicable to our audience. And we want to, down the road here, we are going to be featuring like some photographers to talk about the skill and whatnot, and like how they got to be where they are. But I'm finding these days a lot more that it's not like, I look around and it's like, even for myself, it's not that I need to, like me personally, need to get better at photography specifically. I feel today, for me, and what I see out there in a lot of people, is that it's a mind game, that people are having challenges with something personally, something in their mind, like something like belief, which we'll be talking about. But why I wanted James specifically is that, there's tons of influence out there. Like I can list out people like, I don't know, like Gary Vee, right? He's a huge guy. He's huge out there. Everybody knows him. But I got to tell you, to be honest, he's not some guy that resonates with me. But you can listen to these guys, but they're kind of all over the world. But for me, I want our URBANYEG audience to listen to the experience and perspectives from someone local, because that just makes it a lot more real, rather than listening to some guy from New York or California. Like, wow, that's nice. It's just more real, because you know what? You can, at the end of this, like, James can give his email address out or something, or you can reach him through Instagram and he's going to reply to you. But what are your chances, if you have questions, that Gary Vee is going to respond to you, right? Again, nothing against Gary Vee, but
Ty Lopez.
Yeah, but this is more local, and you're going to get the support local here. So I'm very excited to have James and on our podcast here, and so
before you start, I just want to add to that as well. They're Gary Vee, Ty Lopez, all these influencers on Instagram and social media, whatever it is. They're highly successful, but they're helping you when they've already reached a certain point in time in their life. And they feel like, okay, because I'm successful, people are going to listen to me. But I feel like people need to start helping people when you're not in that situation, because people can relate to you. And like, oh, this guy's actually really close to where I am. He's not in like the $1 million range, maybe in the 6-figure range. He's so close to me. I mean, maybe I can learn how to make six figures first, but people are pursuing the $1 million mark, 7 figures, so quickly when they haven't even made 10 figures yet. So I think it's important that they start from the ground up and learn from people like us that are closer to where they are, and then they can grow. Like, chasing $1 million, trying to get $1 million is not a bad thing. It's ambitious, but you don't even have the behaviors to get to where you want to be to 100,000. So how do you expect to get $1 million, right?
That's right. And no, 100%. I always say to people, like, you can listen to people on, I don't know, like Dragon's Den or something like that. People going to chase money there, and they're always, people pay a ton of money to listen to these influencers, and what they're talking about is what James is saying, that like they're going to try to teach you how to make 7 figures, like over $1 million. But it's like, to me right now, you know what? Teach me how to make $100,000. Teach me how to make $50,000 in, say, like, I'm going to relate it to photography. Teach me how to make, like $50,000, and then we'll go from there. Right. But why? It's irrelevant to me to try to chase how to make $1 million in photography, you know? So
yeah, I agree 100%. And the part of that is like, they're selling a program that's like a cookie cutter business. So you've probably seen a lot of stuff online where they say, oh, buy my program, my success program, and you know, you can make this. And a lot of it has to do with like social media advertising. You've probably seen a lot of kids lately coming out, I'm a social media influencer or a social media agency now, technically.
Sure.
And I learned this program online through this guy, and this is how I want to make money, right? So that's a cookie cutter situation where you expect people to like really buy into your program, and you're selling them on this real, like this image that, oh, if you take on my program, you're going to be able to make this kind of money or similar to what I'm making right now, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't totally agree with that, because there's really no depth in their business. It's just everything's going to be the same. It's like drop shipping, Amazon, everyone's doing the same stuff, right? There's no difference. You're doing it for the money, definitely the wrong purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
So how would you say like those types of individuals and that way of thinking has influenced you, if at all?
I would say I fell into the trap of wanting to make that money too. Like I saw, who was that guy? Grant Cardone, 10X it, whatever it is,
sure,
all the time. And I've seen it. I've seen a bunch of other guys do that as well. I bought into a couple of the programs for like Shopify dropshipping, Amazon a little bit here and there too. And I liked it. I enjoyed it for the time being, because I thought, oh, if I can make this kind of money, I can just quit my job and just do my own thing, travel the world, and I can do Amazon, right? And then you just burn out, because at the end of the day, you make a certain kind of amount of money, and it's just like, oh, that's it. 100K, that's it. 200K, that's it. So when I was young and I chased that money and I thought this is where it'd make me happy, I realized it was just empty. Right? Money is just money. It has energy. We all know April from Shady Ape. She said money has energy. Right. I agree. And it sucked me in so hard that I kept chasing money, because I didn't realize, what my purpose was.
I see. So is that like, when did that change for you, and how did that change for you?
A lot of stuff happened, I guess. So like the backstory, I was working at corporate companies in Canada, and I got pissed off. I'm like, this is it. This is all the money I'm going to be making now. Cool. Like I wanted a title. I wanted a different title rather than the money. When you get that title, it didn't feel like anything.
Right.
And then I'm like, hey, you know what? Maybe I just need to start my own thing. Maybe I'm not meant to work 9 to 5, because there's going to be people in life that you're not actually meant to work 9 to 5 and work at a company. And there's going to be people that are built to be entrepreneurs. Not everyone can be a business owner, entrepreneur. You have to have that, you have to have the strength to do it and the consistency to do it. I realize that in some cases I don't have it. So right now I'm working full time and trying to pursue this new project and fund that project called the Hungry Mind.
Right.
And what happened for me was, when I got to the restaurant industry, started being a business owner, doing all these side hustles, I realized, man, this is depressing. And I didn't realize I was depressed. And my friends in Toronto said, hey, you were somewhat anxious all the time, a little bit down. You were never really happy making that kind of money. You always wanted the next thing. And then I didn't realize that. And then when I actually fell into that really deep depressive phase, I'm still going through it a little bit here and there. Like I'll go through like a week of like feeling like crap, and then eventually like feel good. When I'm surrounded by people, I feel amazing, right? But when I'm home alone, you have no idea what goes through my head. It was terrible this morning. I woke up at 4, and yeah. I don't want to get into that, but I got into depression and then realized, man, I don't know what to do with my life, and I kind of lost my way. Yeah.
So how long ago was that?
So it was just over a year.
I see.
Yeah, December 2017.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty recent.
Interesting. Wow. So like, what's changed since then?
I realized I guess like helping people was kind of the biggest thing I was always doing, and I felt enjoyment in that. But I didn't know it at the time. You don't realize that, oh, this is what I'm actually happy, or this is what I feel like I'm good at and I want to do for the rest of my life. Because I went to a networking event off meetup.com, and some guy was starting his own business, and I was just giving him some like pretty good, I would say, in my opinion, good advice. And he was like, oh, do you do this for a living? And I'm like, no, I don't. I just like, I help university students. I mentor university students, but for free, right? He's like, how come not business owners. I'm like, I don't know, never really thought about it, right? And then that just kind of passed by, and then a few months later, I realized, man, I think I need to do something else. I can't do the restaurant. I need to step away from it. And I realized helping people was kind of the way I want to approach things.
I see. Was that how was that like? Because basically what you're talking about is you're talking about a shift in your mindset, right? You're talking about a shift from your focus being on like, I suppose like pursuing a certain ideal that you might have had in your head, and what you thought that was going to bring you in terms of like, you know, personal fulfillment and whatnot. And then realizing that it wasn't where you were focused. You weren't gonna feel that from where you were focused. Why do you think, just like why do you think that when you were in that position, you didn't notice that it was actually when you were helping people that was actually when you felt the most fulfilled, and that was, you know, what do you think was kind of getting in your way, I suppose, in that place that you were at?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with like self-awareness,
I see.
Not being aware of what actually makes me happy. And like, I realized like, what do you actually feel when you're happy? If you ask yourself right now, how do you feel right now when you're happy? You can't really recall like, oh, what does my body feel like when I'm happy? Right? You don't really realize that, but I knew what I felt like when I felt like garbage. Right. I'm like, oh, I feel like this, you know, you can describe it. It's such a big thing, but when you're happy, you just let it pass by and time flies by so fast. You're not really aware of it. And like, I guess to answer your question, what stopped me from seeing that I was happy was the materialistic things that I couldn't have when I was a kid. And Chan probably knows this. He came as a refugee, right? I believe. Yeah. And my parents came as immigrants. The only reason we were able to come to Canada was through a student visa my dad had. And his brothers and sisters gathered all their money and pushed $10,000. Back in the day, I'm assuming that's still not a lot of money back in 93, but yeah, they gave up all their money and like pushed them to come here. And then, when I grew up, I didn't have a lot of money, I guess, too. And when I saw my friends, I grew up in a pretty rich community, but me not being one of them, I realized, okay, that's what my vision was. I'm like, hey, I want to live like these kids live. I want to live like their parents live. Bring them McDonald's every day for lunch when I'm eating a crappy peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And back then, I guess to my dad, that was a lot because he didn't have that growing up. Yeah. And then I didn't appreciate it. So now I see that. I'm like, oh, he gave me everything he had. He saw value in peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when I wanted McDonald's like every other kid, right? Yeah.
That's interesting.
So that was what was covering up really what my values are. And I think my parents have been pushing these values on me for a long time because he's a pastor. He's like, they don't make a lot of money regardless of what people think. They don't make any money, very little. And he's always the one that said, hey, you don't need money to help people. You don't need a lot of money to help people.
Very true.
And he didn't have a lot. He would spend his own money, own gas to go to someone's house to pray for them or do whatever pastors do. I still don't know exactly everything they do, even though I grew up Christian. But yeah, like, I guess that those values really kind of like resonated with me eventually. And then, I told him what I'm doing now, and he's really happy that I'm doing this. So
I see. Yeah, that's very interesting. So that has been, I suppose, your own personal story. And we were talking about people like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, and everything like that. I feel like that's not something that is a part of what they talk about. You know what I mean? Like when they talk about, you know, being successful and going after everything that they want to pursue in their lives and telling you that you can do that as well. I feel like that part of the story isn't really included. You don't hear that very much, right? I mean, you don't hear like, oh, I was pursuing all of this maybe for the wrong reasons, you know what I mean? And then something happened and I changed, and now this is why I want to help other people. You don't really hear that as much. Because, well, I would assume because a lot of the time the reason why they're doing what they're doing is to make money, right? It's a part of their business, and they don't want to tell you that, you know, you might have to go through a lot, like in terms of, you know, how you feel about yourself and have to flip your perspective and all of these sorts of things. So I think the fact that you're able to do that in what you're doing is connecting more with like people actually where they're at. How do you feel about individuals who are doing the whole like anybody's an entrepreneur kind of thing?
I'm really opinionated on this. Honestly, I would say that a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs now because they see these influencers saying you can do it. Hey, you don't need to work 9 to 5. Screw 9 to 5. You can make more money doing your own thing.
Right.
And they don't really see, like, I guess these influencers and these big shot guys, they just want to show you what sells, essentially. To be fair, like, I don't know what's going in their home in the back of, like, behind closed doors, because they're not going to share that. But I feel like in order for you to have a real deep connection with people, you need to be vulnerable. You need to say, hey, this is what I'm going through. Like, I'm super open about my depression now. Like, I was super ashamed of it. Still somewhat struggle with sharing it at times, but I feel like it's something that needs to be heard. People need to know, like, this is what entrepreneurs go through. This is the actual struggle you go through. These motivational quotes, you can do it, or you just got to put this kind of work in, and BS like that. I feel like there's no depth, right? Yeah. And when I see kids like just say, hey, I want to do this, and I know a lot of people that took Dan Locke's course, like he's helping people in a way, and like he grew up poor, but then again, like he's also not sharing his insecurity about being, like, he tells people he was poor, but he's not really talking too much about it. He's saying you can make money now too, right? And when I see people take his program and try to like use it to be an entrepreneur, I go, yeah, but you're not really solving any problems. Like, it doesn't have to be anything new, but like you can do things better. So when I see kids without experience trying to like make a name for themselves, I'm like, put in the work. Don't even try to get 100 clients. Don't try to get a big, like, don't try to make $1 million right front. Just try to get one client first, one paying client, do a good job. Yeah. And then you can get to the next level, right? Get 2 clients and then scale it up to 10. And then now you have 10 paying clients. And when you think like, oh, I only have 10 clients, I want 100 clients now. Like, you made it. You had nothing before, and you're putting the work in. Like, quit trying to be so big shot. Try to be good in the seat you're in right now, right?
I can relate to that personally myself, because, well, I mean, I went out on my own in photography, and I guess I've been like, where my mindset has been more like, oh, well, I'm not making enough money yet. You know what I mean? And I guess I've been guilty of not really appreciating where I am and the things that I've actually done, and realizing that that's the only way that that's going to happen is when I starting small. I'm obviously not going to be making like $100,000 a year like tomorrow. It's just not realistic. And I think I think when we see so many people in the world and people on social media and things like that who are at a certain level, and it seems so close to us now because it's so prevalent, like it's so prevalent in social media, that it's like, okay, well, if I just, like you said, if I just like do it, I'm just going to get there. And then when you go through different hardships and things don't happen the way that you feel like they ought to happen, you tend to beat yourself up, and you tend to not believe in yourself. And I think that's because most of those people who are the influencer types and things like that, they're not necessarily talking about like the foundations of what it is that you have to go into before you can actually, pursue that kind of thing. Because it's a whole lot of, well, it's a mental game. A lot of it really is a mental game. And you're talking about like, belief in yourself and whatnot. And yeah, if you're not prepared, I suppose. I mean, I wasn't prepared. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Who does, right?
You just got to jump in and figure it out if you like it or not. And a lot of life is about testing and figuring out you suck at it or you don't like it. And then you go, okay, on to the next one, and don't get caught up in it. And yeah, like they make it seem so easy. Like when I did a dropshipping course, I paid $3,000 for it. Yeah, I thought I'm like, oh yeah, dropshipping. Frick, everyone's gonna do it. Like it's gonna be crazy good.
Right.
Holy, there was a lot more work than I thought. They sold it on you've heard of ClickFunnels? It's like the thing that everyone does webinars and sells their programs on. Yeah. So I saw it. I'm like, man, this looks sick. I'm gonna make crazy money on this. It was more work than I thought, and I'm like, you know what? I did it for like 5-6 months. I made okay money, maybe. I probably did crap. I probably lost money, if anything, testing all these products and spending money on Facebook ads. And I realized, you know what? Maybe this is not for me, right? And then I took the loss, like $3,000, not chump change, but it's not like $125K like put in a restaurant, right? So I'm like, oh, you know what? In the grand scheme of things, $3,000. It was a really good learning experience that I know that I didn't like it.
Sure.
And then that's when I went into the Hungry Mind mission, where I'm like, you know what? Maybe chasing money isn't the right purpose, and that's when I started to question my intent more, and say, hey, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
Like, I don't even like money as much as they thought. If money really was my motivation, why am I continuing to do this dropshipping thing where everyone is and keep testing it out? I didn't mind losing the money, but it's more like I saw the potential, but it didn't really get me to work. I was so lazy even doing it. Like I go home like, you know what? I'll do it tomorrow. But now like when I go home after a long day of work,
Right.
I want to go on my computer and like say, hey, what is the next topic I can talk about on my blog? What can I share to people? And I'm super excited to always like write something. And I have like a mind map of all the ideas I want to talk about. I'm working on it every day. And that's the thing about business, being an entrepreneur, and even school, anything in life. It's just about getting 1% better every day. And this is like clear in every single self-help book. Is they say, oh, you have to get better. It's about behaviors and habits. Every single self-help book I've read has mentioned something about mindset, how you want to think, and also habit building, right? So
Yeah.
and like just try to get better at it just a little bit every day, right?
So you mentioned, like you just mentioned again, the Hungry Mind, your project there. So what exactly, like I just read just a brief synopsis of what it is you're doing there. What are you hoping to really like bring out of that? What do you hope to share through that platform that you've created there?
I'm tying in the business side as well as mental health, because business and entrepreneurship is a mental game, right? It's mind over matter for sure, right? So it's more like, okay, figuring out the purpose of why you want to start a business. And I've mentored a few students here and there, and they're like, I want to start my own business. Okay, why do you want to do it? I want to call it my own. I want to call something my own baby. I'm like, okay, that's a load of bull. Like, really, I don't think that's a deep enough reason for you to want to start a business. There has to be something really underlying in that reason. And if I want to share my story with you guys about like why I want to be a business owner, why I chase money, and why I want to be my own business owner and everything, is because of money. And why I value money is because I didn't have a lot before. I was super insecure about money. And like, even now, like I still struggle with that part of me. Like, I think life is always about battling your past experiences and your insecurities. And it always come out when you don't want it to. Like, I think the other day, and it just always comes out and you're like, why am I like this? And it's about questioning why you feel that way. It's important. So for me, because I thought money was my motivation and I did the businesses, that's one of the reasons why I got depressed. Obviously, there's a lot of reasons for depression. It's not just one thing. But for the most part, I'd say helping. I forgot the question again. What was the question?
I was asking what it is that you're hoping to achieve.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sorry. I always go on a tangent.
The Hungry Mind. It's okay.
It's about so what I want to achieve with the Hungry Mind. It's essentially like a evolving project. Essentially, so at first it started as just business coaching. I want to teach business owners how to be better leaders, how to start a business, etc., like that. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think that's really what I want to do. That's not my niche, right? And then eventually tied into like mental health. Like, okay, I want to help people through depression, but I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I didn't go to school for that. So I'm like, you know what? That doesn't really work for me. So I have business experience, and I've gone through mental health, and I'm huge on the self-improvement industry, I guess. Like, I love reading books about self-improvement. I like applying it. So what I want to do is I want to help people find their purpose. Like, what is the purpose of you doing everything you do in life? So why do you wake up in the morning? Why do you go to work? Why are you doing everything in the morning? And then why are you going to do your job? Like, you didn't always question your intent and have this, I guess dogma is a big thing. So you need to be dogmatic about everything you do in life. So finding that purpose just from every day and all the way to like your overall life's meaning, purpose, and then helping them capture those behaviors and then get into the mindset of having those habits to get there. So
I see.
Yeah.
So, well, I met you through Shady 8 meditation series, right?
Yeah.
Which in April. How did you find out about that?
I went to, what was it called? Next Gen? Edmonton Next Gen or YG Next Gen, I think. I forget what it's called. They were pitching, they were one of the pitches, I guess, out of the 4 or 5 groups there. And it really resonated with me. I'm like, you know what? Mental health is huge for me. I really want to get involved with it somehow. Maybe I need to make a connection with the right people. And like, you have to go in, like humans naturally will go in with the thought that, okay, I want to get something out of meeting these people. If I can give them something, I want something back in return. But then like, as soon as like I thought that, I questioned, you know what, if I don't get anything back, that's fine. I just want to meet people and like in that space, that mental health space. And if I help them, if something comes out of it, like I meet other people like yourselves, you know, I met you through them. Great. If I don't, great. I still benefit from going to meditation, right?
So, How long have you been going through going to their group meditations now?
The group meditation, I think just over a month and a half, I'd say. Maybe almost 2 months. It's hard to say.
Sure.
I was practicing meditation on and off myself because one of my good friends, actually, he's in Vancouver now. He used to be a monk.
Oh, wow.
And I lived with him in Toronto for a bit too. And he would always meditate. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, what? Meditate? Oh, okay. And then I tried it. I'm like, oh, okay. It's not bad. And like only when I really, really feel like I need to do it, I'll just go, okay, I'm going to sit down, take a breather.
Right.
But I truly don't know what meditation is still. I'm still learning. I'm a noob. Like, honestly, I think most of us are still kind of learning.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, but I see the benefits of it directly into like my mind, especially when I'm feeling down or happy now. Like, I'm just like reflecting like, oh, I'm happy. Why am I happy? Okay, let's think about this. What makes me happy, right?
So, other than just like an emotional thing for you, how has that, I guess, helped you in your business? Because like you're talking about, you want to be able to help bridge the gap, I suppose, between business, entrepreneurship, and the mental game and aspect of what is involved with that. Has meditating, being in that space helped you in that area as well?
100%, I'd say. So like with the restaurant, I still technically own it. Legally, I still own it. Technically, I would not like to, but there's stuff that you still need to do being an owner. Sure. And like, I put it off for so long. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this because it makes me anxious. It makes me depressed just thinking about it. It was so bad. When I park my car at the restaurant, I walk away and I'm walking back to the restaurant. Oh, I feel like I'm going to have a panic attack. That's literally how I felt every time I walked close to my car because it's parked at the restaurant.
Wow.
It was so bad. And I would get panic attacks just thinking about it. But then with the meditation side of it and mindfulness piece, it's more like, oh, you question why you're anxious and you realize this is nothing. In the grand scheme of things, this is not even a big deal. Like, sure, like you have to deal with it, but if you don't deal with it, things are just going to get worse, right? You have to like do something about it. And I let it get really bad. I just don't care. And then it got really bad. I'm like, okay, you know what? I think I need to like actually do something. And then before I hopped into doing the work, I really reflected. I'm like, okay, let's take a breather and really understand like why I'm anxious about this. Why is this making me depressed? Why is this part of my life really giving me a hard time? And the mindfulness and meditation piece really pushed me to like go take action on that.
I see. Do you wanna share why it was making you so anxious?
Yeah, sure. Like the restaurant industry, it's tough. Like turnover is high.
I see.
And big misunderstanding about restaurants is a lot of times people want to go in the restaurant because it makes money, or like people think everything's overpriced.
I see.
You pay for what you get, number one. Number two, margins are super slim in restaurants.
Yeah,
like,
I've heard
we'll make almost nothing. Like I would say make 7 cents every dollar. If that's like on the low end, even lower you can go, but like, and then high end's like 15, 25% ish. But like the average would be less than 10%, I would say, in Edmonton. And like for me, it was like, because I thought owning a business and I'm going to make mad be baller and stuff. And like having a business has its perks. Like people want to get to know you. It's like, oh, you want a business? Oh, sick. Right. I want to get to know you. Okay. Sure. And then everyone wants to meet you. I like that part of it. And that's the ego part. I'm like, yeah, I'm confident. I own a business. Everyone loves me. But I guess like part of the anxiety part was like, oh, people don't see things behind closed doors again. Like after everyone leaves, after all the praise, after all the people that love you, you go back home. You're like, you still have to work. You have to pay bills. And you're like, oh, how am I going to make payroll? Shoot, I don't have money. We have to dump more money to this business right now. I already dumped $125K.
Oh,
do I want to put more money to this or not? And then people still need to get paid. And this is a part of me that I hate doing. I'm like, I'm so attached to money. I felt like, I'm like, oh man, I feel like I'm paying them, but they're slackers, like, you know? And that was me. And I still struggle with that part of me where like, oh man, I feel like they didn't work for that money. They didn't work hard enough. They didn't bring enough revenue for me to pay them. So I still struggle with that. But at the end of the day, they're putting their time in to work for you. And yeah, like making payroll, paying the bills is the big part of it, because they don't understand that there's more to the restaurant than paying people, right? There's so many other costs. But then the industry itself, in a way, is sort of, and I hate to like say it, but like the restaurant industry is very political and like it's very broken, right? And like people are entitled, especially kids now more so than our parents probably thought we were entitled kids too. Like, you're so entitled, or like never said it, but their generation thinks we're entitled because we're millennials, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the generation Gen Z is entitled because I see them like, man, you guys don't even want to work hard. I can go to McDonald's, you get paid $15 an hour, and you can't even make me a proper cheeseburger. You can't even give me a Coke. I remember, I think on Monday I went to McDonald's through the drive-thru and ordered a meal. Obviously, I don't drink pop, but when I do, it's gonna be Coke Zero. Tastes good. Tastes like real Coke. But yeah, like the guy forgot to give me my drink, closed the drive-thru door, and like I just went home, forgot about it. I was so upset because I'm like, this guy is making $15 an hour, can't even give me my pop. Wow. So then I thought back, I'm like, okay, I'm mad. Okay, you know what? Me being mad is not gonna do anything. Let's take a step back. Okay, let me write a letter to McDonald's. It's not the first time they screwed up. I gave them like numerous chances, and I wrote them an email, and obviously they're gonna take care of it and send me a gift card to my house or whatever it is. But going back to that, like I took action instead of just being angry, like yelling. I just like, you know what? Me being here, that kid that makes $15 an hour is not gonna make a difference. Let's just email McDonald's to help see what they can do, right? Like, hey, this is a bad experience I had, and then they took care of it for me. So I went on a tangent again. See, all the time I go into this long tangent.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Can I interject here?
Sure.
So I was just, as you were talking there, I was thinking, I want to bring this back to the thinking of our audience. Just anybody who's listening right now, I want to provide you guys some value in terms of practical things that you can do. I'm going to talk about a couple things, and I'm going to ask James for his opinion here. So when I talk to some people and what I'm just seeing out there on like social media, a lot of people, when it comes to success and reaching it, I'm finding that more often than not, people are quitting before they can actually get to the success. And, this is obviously it's a big deal because And no, I kind of take it back and think, why is it that people, they sometimes quit before they actually try, or sometimes they quit halfway and it's like they just don't feel like they can do it. So my question to you, James, is why do you think that is? Is it that they're, maybe I'll preface this with an example. Let's say that this is going to be a dumb analogy, but I need to paint a picture here. Let's say that I'm going to ask you, James, how confident do you feel that you can walk away from this building and get into your vehicle and start it and drive home? You would tell me that you're pretty confident that you can do that, right?
Well, hopefully my car isn't towed. I didn't pay for parking.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's such a simple thing that it's like, well, if I was to ask anybody that, they say, well, yeah, I can definitely walk to my car, get into it, drive home, and go walk into my house. Mm-hmm. There's kind of like, well, there's no thinking about that. Yeah. But if I was to say, okay, well, in order for you to get to your success, so let's say you want to start a business in photography, well, you need to be able to talk about yourself and explain the value that you provide. But people have challenges with talking to people, mm-hmm. right? So, but they're perceiving it as like, a roadblock. It's a roadblock that they've already made it a barrier mm-hmm. before it's actually a barrier. Yeah. So, but I'm just giving some examples mm-hmm. there, but I just want to hear from your opinion. Why do people quit before they can get, before they start or get to their success?
Well, I'll take a real life example as well. Like for myself too, like I quit a lot of things before I even started or even put in enough work. And the part of the reason is like, I think you have to question first, like, what is success to you and why is that successful? So, one of the most recent books I read by Simon Sinek, it says, find your why, start with why. Like it's essentially that, right? Like people are trying to define their success with what they do instead of why they're doing it. I think we need to start defining ourselves with our success with why we're doing things and how many people can I help? What does that, if I can help 5 people, that's success to me, right? So going back to like photography itself, like people don't want to put in the work. Maybe they're not in the right field. Maybe that's not what they want to do or why they're doing it, right? Maybe they're doing it because they think that, oh, everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is doing accounting. Maybe I should be an accountant. All my friends are doing it. Like we're so like pulled in by the culture, by pressure, by people that we're surrounded with. All my friends are doctors. I didn't become a doctor, but like we're surrounded by that. And like that really influences our decisions in life because your friends, your family are the biggest influences in your life for the most part, I'd say. And like, they're not you. So what they do is not what you do. And like, success for them is different than you. So you're a successful photographer. You're a pretty successful photographer too, I'd say.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, I think so, at least. I've seen your stuff. It's really good stuff. You've got a lot of Instagram followers, so I'm just assuming you're successful. That's what defines success lately. But I think like, why, just questioning like, why are you doing photography and why are you afraid to speak up and share your story of like what value is kind of the first step. Because like, people are going to be motivated to do it at first, but motivation is also about willpower, and willpower, it's called willpower because willpower dries up, right? So when willpower dries up, it's about those behaviors you've really like conditioned yourself to have to keep going. But before even the habits or behaviors you want to keep going with, you need to think about your mind, like, okay, why am I doing this? And finding your why, your purpose. Once you have purpose, the burnout, the habits just come so much easier. Yeah.
Great. Can I, I'll just add to that. And, you know, for myself, I've been very fortunate at the age of, I go back to the age of 19, that I met up with, there were this group of business owners, and I got to talk to them. I got to be a part of their business, and I found that hugely valuable to me. And the things that they taught me back then when I was 19 are things that I still carry with me today. And I think it's been something that's helped me become successful in my business. But one of the things I want to share is that, so this guy's name is Jason. What he said was, he spoke in front of this crowd of people, and he said, he was talking about your why, because you know that you know, in my opinion, that's huge. It's why are you doing something? And I feel like your why needs to be super strong, right? Because if it should be so strong that nothing can dissuade you or deter you from getting to whatever you feel your goals are, right? So what Jason was saying was that if he was pointing out that, well, if your why is very small, and you can't see me here, but I'm making hand gestures here, that if your why is this small, but the perceived price that you have to pay is this high, it's very high, then you're not going to pay the price. And what that means is like, well, it's saying that your why is not strong enough, right? But on the other hand, if your why is huge, right, it's so massive, but the price that you feel that you have to pay to get it, you know, to get to your success is very small in comparison, then you will pay the price. You'll do what you need to do to get to your success, and nothing is going to get in your way and stop you from getting to your goals.
I agree. I agree with you there for sure. Like, I feel like going back to what you said, like you worked with a bunch of business owners and you learned a lot there. I just want to talk about that briefly, is like finding a mentor, right? You also need to be able to take feedback, have a mentor teach you. Like, every successful business owner has a mentor that taught you something. It doesn't have to be a direct mentor. It might be like a book you read and you really resonated with what you read, and like, oh, I want to follow everything they do on Twitter. I want to follow everything they do. I want to follow their blog posts so I can keep reading and learn from them. That still would be considered a mentor. Obviously, it's not one-on-one mentoring, but you're still learning a lot from that. And being able to like successful photographers and like kids saying, hey, I want to be a photographer. And if they want to learn from you in that sense, they should. They said, hey, I want to learn from you. Like, help me. Or like, they should try to help you first. Hey, like, I saw your stuff. I was thinking if I can give you tips or like, you know, work with you for free, just for a little bit, just to understand how everything works. Is that okay with you so I can learn? I don't know if you take on interns or free guys to help you guys out at all, like free labor. But for me, like, a lot of it was like, when I got out of school, I did crappy jobs, right? I didn't get paid a lot. I made like 20, 30K first job out of school, and I'm like, yeah, this is garbage. But you know what? You got to pay to play. You got to learn how to do everything first before you can ask for the real money, right? So, and like, when you're young, I would say try to learn as much as possible, stack those skills, stack relationships, meet as many people as you can, and really build those relationships when you're young, because in the future, those are going to come, like, they're going to pay it forward eventually, right? So,
well, you know, when you talk about mentorship, this is for us at URBANYEG, this is huge. You know, we have a group of 10, 13 people on the URBANYEG team right now, and what we do is try to facilitate activities or, you know, workshops, opportunities for people to learn and work with each other and learn from each other. And that's why we create those, we facilitate and putting together those Insta meets, So to us, it's the showing up to the Insta meets. It's an opportunity for you to meet other people, talk to other people about what your passions are, and you're gonna have an opportunity to make some new friends. And when that happens, you're just gonna start feeling like you have other people who are kind of at the same place in your journey as you are, and so it's more relatable. And once you guys start talking to each other about what your maybe some of your vulnerabilities are and what your challenges are, then you might start to find out that, hey, shit, you know what, I'm going through the same thing, and now you're going to go through this journey together. And then that other person, that friend, they might become like a mentor to you, and that to us is a very valuable thing. And going back to what you said at the beginning, all of that, what we facilitate with URBANYEG, the Insta meets, those connections, that's all free. We on the URBANYEG team, what we do is we volunteer our time. We don't get paid to do URBANYEG, but we do it because it gives us, for us, we get a satisfaction out of helping out other people, right? But it doesn't cost anything to help out other people, right?
Just your time, but you know what? It's really important that you do that, because like you probably had someone help you when you're younger, teach you the skills, and just paying it forward. That's literally what it is. Like, you don't have to buy someone a coffee right behind you to pay it forward. I think that's just like a one-time thing. But when you're able to share your knowledge with the younger generation that are trying to do something for themselves, I think that's super valuable for everyone. Because it's no lie, Alberta is struggling. Where our economy is not the greatest right now, and people need to make money somehow. You need money to pay the bills. So I think teaching people the skills, the business skills, photography skills, and all that, really important. And people shouldn't expect to get paid right away out of school though. I understand you went through 5 years of school, or I'm not sure how long it takes to be a photographer, but you know what I mean? You go through school and you expect to get paid. But I think people just need to take a step back and say, you know what? School taught me this, but I think I still need to learn a little bit more. And that's why there's a lot of people that do fellowship after school, or take another year or do co-op or internships just to get that experience under their belt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will talk, I didn't go to school for photography. Everything that I learned was just going out and shooting. And then Chan taught me a lot, helped me out a lot. Or off the internet, online and stuff. But I did see it, that's almost back to what I was saying before about feeling oh, well, I'm a photographer, and I should, I don't feel like I'm moving fast enough and all this stuff, because I'm, feeling like I should be making more money than I'm making now, or whatever. But yeah, definitely at the time, I mean, as if I did go to school regardless, I'm not gonna be in a position where that's gonna happen right away.
Exactly.
And there's things that you even if you did go to school, there are just things about the industry in reality that you just will not know, and it will have to come from time and experience. And yeah, having somebody like a mentor, or just a group of people that you can jam with and connect with, who are going through in a similar place as you, that's hugely beneficial, because it doesn't really make you feel like you're so isolated and you're there's something wrong with what you're doing, or you're not, you're a failure because you're not moving fast enough or whatnot, things like that. But yeah, so I would agree with you. That kind of thing is super important. And I forget what the other thing I was going to say was, you were talking about the economy and everything right now. And it's yeah, that is the reality, and you still do need to get paid. But yeah, even if you gotta but that goes back to, I guess, what is your why, and how motivated are you to pursue what it is that you're trying to do, and so if you have to go and take a job or what, because you said you're working full time right now, right? Yeah. So I mean, you're not totally rigid on the fact that you would not be able to do that. Whereas maybe if you were in a place where you weren't, well, if you were in a different place right now, maybe you'd be so rigid as to trying to force what it is that you're trying to do, and that would actually be hugely detrimental to you, because you wouldn't see the opportunity that you have to actually keep what you're doing alive by going to work.
Exactly. Right?
Whereas some people might be super rigid, and they feel like it needs to happen the way that they want to see it happen, and that actually might be the thing that could kill their passion and their motivation and their belief in themselves and all that, right? So,
Yeah, I feel like 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 you've probably seen this, like, go all in, don't be half in half out kind of thing.
right.
And when I see that kind of stuff, I'm just like, okay, are you gonna pay my bills? Are you the one that's gonna pay my bills if I quit my job? Are you gonna feed my kids?
Right.
No, I don't have kids, but like, yeah, for example, if I had kids, I'd be like, you're gonna feed my kids if I quit my job? I'm a single father, you can't just quit your job and like pursue your passion like that. Sometimes
Right.
your passion is just a side project which keeps you alive and keeps you able to go to work, essentially. Because like sometimes, like, not everyone loves their 9-to-5 job. I can't imagine some of my accounting friends. Oh, I love accounting. I love looking at numbers.
Yeah.
And like, I can't imagine that. There's probably some people that really like what they're doing, but like, if you really don't like it and you know that your purpose is to do something else, chase your passion, chase your purpose, like during the time when you're working, after work, I mean, right? But fund that project with what you're making at work, at least. And then if it makes enough, your purpose makes you money, and you say, okay, now I feel like I'm making enough to be able to just, let go of my old job, then do it. But you're not going to move as fast. But then again, like, it's a big risk if you have a lot of obligations, financial obligations to pay for, right? And people have said, you should go full time with Hungry Mind.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you're not
I would
ready.
love to. I'm not ready though.
Yeah.
Like, I need to like fund this project. I'm not making money off this. I just let go of 3 clients or 2 or 3 clients lately off the Hungry Mind because they weren't listening to me. I'm like, I can't work with people that don't take feedback. Feedback is huge. So if you're not going to take feedback and apply it, it's like reading a book and not using those words and applying it. It's like so many people read and I'm like, oh, I'm a big reader. I know so many people that read more than me. And like, yet they're like not doing anything about it. Right. And I hate to criticize people because I probably was in the same boat as them, where I read and I'm like, oh man, I don't want to do this. This is BS advice, or it is good advice, but you're just too lazy to do something. And like, I think that just that all or nothing kind of thing from like the self-help books that I read or whatever, it's just kind of a little bold, man. Like, it's stupid, right? I don't think it's relatable, right?
Yeah, I used to say, like, something that I heard that I used to say was like, if you got a plan B, it's because you don't believe in plan A.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I don't like that either. You have a plan B because you need to pay the bills, right? Like, money, you need money to pay the bills, literally, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we're going to try to wrap this up in a little bit here, but I have 2 more things to kind of go through before we wrap up. I want to go back to that practicality portion of this. That for those who are listening, I want to get James' opinion on this and kind of steps that they can do on their own here. And one of those things that this topic I'm going to talk about is it's belief. I think that from what I've seen personally, is I think that belief is something that you've told yourself is true, and it's over a long period of time. But what I would have come to learn, though, is that just because you believe something to be true, it doesn't actually mean that it is true. So, for example, people wanting to start off in photography, they're like, well, why are you facing challenge? Or, well, first off, what are some of your challenges? And most people would say, the guys who are wanting to start off, they're like, well, I have a hard time talking to people. I find it hard to talk to people about myself or my business or my work. But how, I'm thinking on the other side, how are you going to book a job if you feel like you have a hard time talking to other people, right? And the solution to that is just, it's not like a flip of a switch. It's like, oh, go talk to people, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to hear from your experience. If there's people out there listening right now that this is exactly where they are, they're like, hey, you know what? I have a hard time talking to people. What would you say to them? What are some steps that they can take to, get there, to gradually get over that challenge that where, they've told themselves that it's hard to talk to people,
mm-hmm. Well, I think it is hard. Like, I grew up, I was super shy. I didn't have any confidence. Even now, like, sometimes I'm just like, oh man, I don't feel confident. Even at the URBANYEG meditation series, I'm just like, I don't feel like sharing. I don't want to talk about myself. I don't feel good, right? And like, I hate to say it, but you need to put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. No, I don't like that. Put yourself out there. Sure. That's easier said than done. Like, it's a mind game for sure. Like, you need to really focus on your mind. Say, hey, why am I really nervous about talking about myself? Right. That's number one. So question why you're shy or why you're not confident in your speaking abilities. And then from there, you're like, hey, I'm not confident because I don't know what I'm talking about. I feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. Then get better at what you want to talk about. Like if you're a business owner, if you want to talk about what you're doing, keep practicing. Like practice makes perfect. It's a term that's overused, but there's a reason why it's true. You got to keep like talking yourself up, saying, hey, I'm good enough. I can do this. Those motivational quotes always say this, but like to be real, you need affirmation. You need to affirm to yourself that, hey, I'm good at this. I know my stuff now because I practiced it. I've questioned why I'm good at it now, or like why I was shy. Now you can capture that and say, hey, these are just insecurities in my own head. I'm in my own head. A lot of times when I'm talking to clients too, I'm in my own head all the time too. I go, oh, I want what they're going to think about me, right? Just do what you can. You can't control what the client's going to think about what you said, right? At the end of the day. But I think the number one rule is just like question why you feel the way you do about not being able to speak properly or have a proper conversation. But don't be too tied to the result either. Because as business owners, we're so tied to the results. As salespeople, we're always tied to like, I want that sale. And man, the guy on the other phone or the customer you're talking to can see that drool coming in your mouth when you're like so desperate to get that business, right? Don't be tied to that. Just be human, right? Just say, hey, this is what I do. Like, just build that relationship, because at the end of the day, business is not based on all the products you have. It's not about the skill set you have. That has part of it, but like the biggest thing is relationship building. Build that relationship first, and the best way to build that relationship is by showing your vulnerabilities. So for me, like when I talk to clients, they don't want to open up to me like, oh, what they're going through, what they want to learn. I'll tell them first, like, this is what I'm going through. This is why I started this business. This is my why. And you have to ask yourself why 5 times to get to the truth. I ask myself, why am I waking up from bed? Oh, I have to go to work. Why do I have to go to work? You know, like keep questioning it until you get to that bottom truth. Like, because I've talked to so many people like, why do you want to work? It's like, why do you want to make money? It's like, oh, I want freedom. I'm like, why do you value freedom? Oh, I want to be able to travel. Why do you value travel? And then, you know, you keep questioning it, the travel and so forth, and you get to the truth that like, oh, you know what, I was always like in this part of my mind where my parents didn't let me do anything, and now like I have freedom and I want to do this, like something like that. Bad example, but essentially I think that kind of captures the point where, you know,
well, I think you touched on it too, that I think that sometimes people are just, you're out of practice. Maybe you're building it up to be a bigger deal than it is. So if someone's telling me that, you know what, I find it hard to talk to people. Well, what is it that you're having a hard time to talk to people about? Okay, if it's photography, well, it's I'm finding it hard to talk about the kind of work I do or trying to sell myself. Well, my advice would be, personally here, coming from Chan here, is that, you know what, how about just put that off to the side and get good and like get some practice into talking about your passion then with your friends. Yeah, go out there, and instead of trying to, or thinking like your mindset is trying to sell people on your work, it's like just go out there and say, hey, this is my name, you know, I'm this, and this is why I love photography. I love doing this. This is the joy that, you know, photography brings me, blah blah blah. And all of a sudden you start to get this feeling internally that it's like, now it's not a big deal to start talking about why you love photography, and people can start feeling that passion off of you, right? And
I know that all too well. Like Hungry Mind, I didn't know how to talk about it. When people ask me, what is Hungry Mind? I'm like, shoot, this again? Damn, I don't even know how to talk about this. And like, even now, like it's so hard for me to explain what I do, and I just like say it. I'm like, this is what I do. I help people. It's like, oh, how do you help people? They're gonna ask you questions like, oh, how do you help people? I'm like, oh, I help people with like habit building and getting better in certain areas in their life that they want to focus on. Is very client focused. This is how I help people, right? And like, I think the big thing is like, yeah, when you lack those skills or you feel like you lack those skills, write it down and ask your friends. Like, try to practice with your friends. Like, talk to them and say, hey, this is, what do you think of this? Or just have a fake pitch with them. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what it is. Just practice it. But the big thing is like, don't try to do too much at once. The best practical advice I got from my mentor as well is like, don't try to do everything too quick. I think we all try to get better too fast, and we just get burnt out. It's like going to the gym. You expect results just like a snap of a finger after like going to the gym once or 6 months. You're not going to get anywhere with that. You need to like get better, 1% better every day. So whether you're going to lift more weights the next time you go, or you're going to get 1% better in your diet, you know, that makes all the difference in the gym. Same thing goes to your skill sets in business. Just get a little bit better, 1% better in terms of, oh, maybe I can break down my conversation to this portion of it. So when I write, I'm a terrible writer. I sucked at English. I failed grade 12 English. I had went to center high just to upgrade my English. But like, I know I'm not a great writer, but even so, I still write because you just get better at it, right? So I've broken down my writing into like different components. Say, I want to get better at this part of my writing. I want to get better at this part of it now, right? So if you can break that down into little bits and pieces, and you say you tackle on each part of your conversation, of your photography skills, of your business, that is how you get better, and you can improve yourself there.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, did you want to add anything? Because otherwise, I'll try to wrap this up.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think
so. The last thing I wanted to get from your perspective is this. You know, you've said that you've read quite a bit of books on success, and you've listened to maybe some podcasts, like you listen to influencers, and you know, and then thinking of that, but with your own experience and what you've gone through now, what do you think, you know, in life is important? What is important to you? It's a big question.
Yeah, no, it's a very loaded question. I'd say there's a lot of important things, but I think most important to me, and I still struggle with this because I know that old James Kim is still there somewhere hiding in the corner like, yo, you want money? Money's important, just screaming at me. Because then I'm like, oh, that's a new shirt. I think I want it. I really don't want it. I only want to show it off. That's but I guess like what's most important to me, if I had to like really hone down to one thing.
Well, it could be two. Name 2 to 3 things that are important to you right now.
Well, I think at the end of the day, like just giving value to people, not through money, but also like, because we all have voices, we all have some talents that we're good at, but helping people discover their talent is really important because as humans, like we're pack animals. Everyone has to contribute to the pack somehow, right? So for you to say, or for me to say like, hey, I grew up on my own, no one helped me throughout my life, I think that's completely the wrong mindset. So the most important thing to me is like, what have you learned and what can you pass on to people, not just in the next generation, just someone, your friend or someone that's struggling or someone that's even doing better than you. How can you help them elevate their business or their mindset to where they are? Maybe they don't know what you know, right? Because I learn stuff from kids all the time. I'm talking to them like, holy crap, this kid knows a lot. I didn't know this. He taught me something. Like my dog, he can't even talk. He teaches me something every day about living life just in the present, right? So like just teaching people, learning, and like really sharing that knowledge is really important. And not just sharing the knowledge, but making sure they apply the knowledge is the most important thing to me.
Mm-hmm. So then if I can kind of summarize that what you're describing there is people, first off, that it's is what you are doing to help other people, that it's whatever it's sharing your knowledge, mentoring and whatnot, but it's about how you're affecting other people, right? And I would totally agree with that. This is what I found for myself personally, is that is hugely important, and that's one of the driving factors for me for why I do what I do. Is like I want to enrich the lives of other people. That you know that this life is more than just myself.
And you don't need URBANYEG to do that.
No,
essentially that's just what you do, right?
Right. Yeah. URBANYEG is my outlet.
Yeah.
Right. Is my avenue to get there. Right. I want to leave off with one thing here and then just get your thoughts on this. And I want to be able, I can't remember the exact article this came from, but there was this study that this is quite interesting, that it said these researchers followed, I don't know how many people, but it was over the course of 70 years. And what they were trying to find out was what brings happiness, you know, and then they were able to interview these people after 70 years, you know, of experience. And they said they wanted to kind of bring it down to something in like simpler terms. And that they found that most of these people said that, you know what gave them happiness was relationships, people. And that I thought it was going to be, you know, like as I was reading, I was looking for the answer, and I was like, well, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. You know, we're humans, and you know, we're a species that wants to find that connection with people, and it's like, it makes total sense to me, because it's like, well, if you were to form healthy and positive relationships, you start, you know, if you were to tell me that, you know what, I have a lot of supportive friends, that's amazing, and you're going to feel better about yourself, right? You're going to feel like you're in this better, your self-esteem goes up, your self-confidence goes up, you feel like you have the support and love, great. But and I can see the opposite side. Well, if you were to tell me that, you know what, Chan, I don't have a lot of people to talk to, I don't actually have a lot of friends, but then I would feel sad for you that you don't have the same support system that, say, I have, or many other people have. And it's like, that's why it's hugely important to have these and foster these relationships with people. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree, because life's all about community, right? So community, like relationships, community, having that social network, not social media network, but just a social network, is kind of like the fulfillment portion of it. So don't just be like a person in that network of people that be a contributor, right? So you need to help people, and like that's why a lot of people are in the self-help industry are just like paying it forward by building that community around their followers, I guess, in a sense. But the word self-help, I'm not a fan of it. I prefer the word community help or community improvement, because the word self means it's just yourself at the end of the day, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like what you touched on about the relationships, the people, that is what really brings people happiness. You can be an introvert or extrovert, doesn't matter. You still need people to help you and boost you up. Especially on those lowest times, those are the people that are always going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd agree, because I mean, I know in my life and what's happened with me, I found that two things. So like before I joined URBANYEG, before I knew what it was, I didn't really have very many friends. I didn't really have a support system. I didn't have a network of people who I could go to, and I felt very isolated, and it was a rough period of time. And when I got involved with URBANYEG, and I picked up a camera, that's when I was surrounded by more people who I could connect with and talk with. And it might not necessarily always be something about what I happened to be going through at the time, but just being able to connect with somebody on any level whatsoever really helps you feel more confident in yourself. It helps you feel more, I don't know, like willing to go through what you're going through. It makes it worth it, I suppose. And then even now, like when I'm in my business in terms of photography, I hadn't really paid attention as to like how much connection with other people is a huge contribution into my business and how I can help other people. Because I always saw my business as like, this is my business over here, and then this is me over here. And then I have my connections, and then there are like business connections. And I kind of separated myself out of that. But it was when I started to be more confident and vulnerable. You were talking about vulnerability, right? When you're vulnerable with people, that actually helps people connect with you because they know you're a real person going through your own things. You're not trying to be fake. When I was able to bring myself into my business more and make more meaningful, deeper connections through being more vulnerable, which I'm still working on, that was when I saw the most benefit to me. And I actually felt like I was helping people instead of trying to, like you're saying, trying to just sell something.
Yeah.
I'm actually helping somebody, and I feel good, not because I might be getting paid for the job I'm doing.
It's nice, but
right. But
yeah.
that's a side effect. The reason why I actually feel better, like feel good about what I'm doing, is because I've made a connection with somebody and I know I'm helping them through what I'm doing for them. It's not about like, oh, they just need a product or service and I'm filling that role. That's very like sanitary. That's very, it's not personal.
Yeah.
But what I'm actually doing is I'm actually making a connection with somebody. They're telling me what they need help with, and then I'm able to fulfill that and help them out with something. And then the symptom of that is I'm getting paid for what I'm doing. But I feel better, even though, like, even if I wasn't getting paid, I would still feel good about being able to help them. And the money is just, like a side effect of that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I like how we're ending things there, for sure. But like, I guess the biggest takeaway from you guys and just kind of meeting you guys is like, you guys are building community, which is really important for me, especially because I didn't have a lot of friends growing up. I was super shy. I was bullied. And then like having that community, knowing that there's going to be people like you everywhere, and you guys are building that community in, I guess, in the photography sense, and coaching like the younger guys or maybe older guys that are getting to the photography scene late. I feel like that brings really value to like the city here, because like this is Edmonton, right? This is our city.
Mhm.
I might not like it at times because it's dead and boring, but it's still my city. You know, you got to do what you have sometimes, and that's what I'm doing. Like, I feel like sometimes I want to move to a bigger city because I'm like, I can learn so much more in Toronto or Vancouver, because that's where Toronto was like a talent city, right? And I'm like, you know what? Let's see what I can do in Edmonton, where I'm sitting at right now in Edmonton. Let's see what I can do first here, and then from there, let's go somewhere else if I can make a bigger impact anywhere else. So I like what you guys are doing.
Thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for being on our podcast.
Thanks a lot, man. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. That's fun. All right, so so you guys can follow us on Spotify and everything like that, wherever you guys get your podcasts. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And you can hit us up on our website. You can follow us on urbanyeg.ca and also on Instagram. And we'll be on Facebook and Twitter. And we're working on all that stuff right now.
If you have any questions,
Yeah.
what about your contact info?
Yeah. Give them your contact information.
You can put it in the show notes. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I have no voice.
Okay.